Welcome back to Drive Your Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Master Coach Carrie Marshall, and it's time to go after those goals.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.
All right, tell me if this has ever happened to you. You've had a dream or a goal that you've just been really, really excited about. And so you think about it, maybe you daydream about it a little bit, but in your head, it's basically a done deal. You're so excited about it. You see the possibility for your life and what it's going to be like when you get the thing or accomplish the goal. And then you decide to tell that significant other of yours. Maybe it is a partner, a spouse, a best friend, but it's your person that you love the most in this life. You go and tell that person about this goal and this dream that you're just so lit up about. And then you're met with like kind of a blank stare, or maybe confusion, or maybe even a sympathetic look. And then you realize that that person doesn't really believe that it's going to happen for you, or they're doubting that that really is going to be beneficial in your life. Let's talk about why sometimes that person in your life doesn't believe in you and what you can do about it. So I come from a dental family. That means that everybody in my family has been in the dental industry, me included. I loved working in the dental office, but it was a family business. And when I started to have my very first baby, I stopped working. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And then when I was a stay-at-home mom, I realized really quickly that I needed something else in my life. Now, dental is always there. And so, but I knew that the time that I would need to spend in the office wasn't going to actually match up with the goals that I had. And so I was kind of looking for something else. I've told this story so many times, but I started to do different things. My husband was in a startup at the time. So I started to kind of do these odds and end jobs just to kind of help supplement our income, and then take over the income by doing a nanny job. So all of this is happening. Well, come to the point where I decide that I want to be a life coach. I've had a life coach myself. It was so meaningful and impactful in my life. Shout out to Jody Moore. Thank you, my friend, for being my coach through that time and transition. So when I'm going through this process, I realized I want to be a life coach. And listen, no one in my family knew what a life coach was. Nobody knew what that was. Nobody had any inkling of what an online business was. And so I have this desire and this drive. And when I talk to my coach, of course, she's all in with the possibility. She's all in. And she's like, oh, you'd be amazing at this. You should totally do this. You should get certified. So we're talking about it. So any time I'm with my coach, I'm like really lit up about it. And I'm so excited about it. Well, finally, I tell some of my family that I want to be a life coach, and I'm met with like blank stares and like a little bit confusion. And with one person in particular, it was the sympathetic look. Oh, sweetheart. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was crushed. I really wanted everybody to be excited about my dream as I was about it. Now, this has happened with different people and things, but at the time, my husband was very supportive. Most of the time, he's very supportive. I very rarely with him get the blank stare, only occasionally. But with other people, sometimes I did. And I was really looking for these family members to meet with me with that, like that excitement. But like I said, they didn't really know what it was. They didn't have any experience with it. And so when I said, like, I'm going to just work from home, and I'm going to just work over a video screen, like on my computer, they were really, really confused. They were like, I don't think that's a thing. I'm like, no, it is. I promise you. But I noticed that after I told them and I was met with kind of those blank stares or that disappointment or confusion or like sympathy, right? That I was really, really looking for validation. And so I want you to think about the last time that you were disappointed that someone else didn't believe in you or believe in the goal that you were going after. One of my clients and I were just talking about this the other day. She had this really big goal about where she wants to live. She has this vision of what it looks like and even the house, how to walk through it, what she'd feel, how the kids would interact with it, like all of these amazing things. But then her spouse isn't on board. And she was so crushed. She was like, now I can't do it. And I was like, okay, hold on. So we're going to kind of walk through this process together of when your person doesn't believe in you and what you can do about it, because it happens a lot. I remember when we were going from living in a house that was about 2,000 square feet to the house that we currently live in. And it is a major upgrade from the house that we were in. But I remember walking through it. It was an open house and we were just there to walk through. I was like, let's just go in. You know me, I love possibility. I'm like, it's an open house. Let's just go and like dream and think of the possibility. But as soon as I walked in, I was like, yeah, this is my house. I knew it. I just knew that that was going to be my house. And it didn't make any sense to me, but I knew that the possibility was there. And I was scared to death to say something to my husband because it was a lot more money. We would be we used to live right next door to my parents, which was such a dream. We loved that relationship. We loved raising our girls right next to their grandparents. And so it was a big, big decision to then move away from my mom and dad, who were such huge supports as we were raising all these little girls. And so there was a lot going on and I was so scared. I was so scared to say the thing that intuitively I knew was part of our life plan. And so I looked at that and I said, like, I was looking for validation because I was so nervous myself that I was looking for external validation to tell me that wanting and saying out loud that that house was absolutely ours. Like I needed somebody else to be like, absolutely. So when we go to talk to our significant other, our person, whoever it is, about our goals and dreams, I want you to think about why you're going to tell them about it. Are you looking for the validation? And that's okay. Like I said, I totally was with that house. I really needed somebody else to tell me like, yeah, this is possible. But I was so scared to say it out loud because I was so worried that my fears were going to be mirrored back to me. And so sometimes that's what happens when we're talking to our person about our goals and our dreams, is that we're afraid that if they say the same things that we're afraid of, right? If my husband would have said like, this is a lot of money and it's this and it's that, and we have to move away from your parents, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's all true. I was so worried about that. And so when you're thinking about talking to your person about your goals and dreams, I want you to know why you want to share it with them first before you go and say anything about it. Understand why it's important. Is it just because you want to share it with them and they're your person, regardless of what they say? Or do you need a little bit of validation? It's okay. Like whatever comes up for you, totally fine. We just want to know what it is so that when you go and you seek validation and it doesn't come, you're like, okay, I can see that I wanted validation here and it's not here, and that's okay. I can totally be okay with moving forward and not seeking validation. Okay, so let's say that you do go and tell your person and then you're met with that blank stare or not the response that you were thinking of. Okay, now what do we do? There's a couple of different things that you can do. Number one, and this is the one that I recommend for all of us, I would love for everyone to take option one. This is like a multiple choice where I just tell you what it is. It's one. Just pick number one. Just pick option one. But option one is that we hold the belief ourselves and we love our person and we tell ourselves it's okay that they're not there yet. So when I was talking to my client about this house, I was like, is it okay if your husband just isn't there yet? And she was like, no. She's like, no, I need him on board because we need to do this and this and this. And I was like, but do you really? Or could you really just hold the belief yourself, validate yourself, look into the possibility and the future and troubleshoot, all knowing that you've got yourself. It's that loving yourself enough to know that you've got yourself and that it's okay that somebody else isn't going to do this. We see this all of the time. I get to read a lot of different books, and one of the things that I see happen with a lot of successful people is that at some point there were people in their lives that didn't believe in them. They took option number one. They just decided to have their own back, and they decided to live into possibility anyways. Even when their person didn't believe in them, they still held the belief for themselves long enough for there to then start to be evidence that maybe this could potentially happen, right? And so, for instance, if we go back to me becoming a life coach, I just decided that I didn't need other people's validation. Even though I wanted it, I didn't need it. And that was okay that they didn't understand it right then. I was like, not a problem. I've got myself. I can totally tell myself that this is a good idea. I know the risks, I know the rewards. And so I just decided that I was going to have my own back and just have that self-validation for a while. And so then as I did that, I noticed that I was able to take action from a really clean space, knowing that I had my own self and I was supporting myself. And then I started to have wins. I started to get clients. I got certified. I started to make money. And then slowly people in my family started to come around and they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, I know, right? So much fun. So you have to pick option one. I'm going to give you the other options, but they're not great. Okay. Option two is that you try and really, really sell it to the person. Instead now of focusing on yourself and the goal and the dream, your focus now goes to the other person and getting their validation. And so you negotiate and you wheel and deal and you really try and get them on board, and you try and, even sometimes we try and lie about it a little bit just so that we get somebody to be like, oh yeah, that is a good idea. So that's option two. I don't recommend it. Once again, what you're doing is you're taking all of your time and energy, that energy that you're expending doing that really could be spent more positively, actually going after the goal and working on your self-validation instead of really focusing on the other person. So sometimes we focus on the other person so much because we really don't think that we can do it unless we have the go ahead from that person. I had one of my clients that was sitting on an idea for so long. He was waiting desperately for his partner to say yes and to say that it was a good idea. And his partner was like, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. And so he kept badgering and different angles and all of this. And he would just do it until his partner would get upset, and then he'd pull back. And then he'd wait a couple months and then he'd go at it again. And it became a really big contention in their relationship. And so when we were talking about this kind of aspect, he was like, oh, wow. What if I didn't need his approval? And I was like, yeah, what would that look like? What if you loved him and told yourself that you could totally go after this in a really healthy self-validating way, and that it would be supportive for both of you? And it was amazing to watch then their relationship actually get stronger, even though his partner didn't believe in him at first. So that's option two. We can start to badger people. Option three, also, I don't, recommend this one, but option number three is you can actually start trying to get validation from other people. And when it doesn't come, you can just drop it. You can just decide it's not for you because your spouse, your partner, your mom, your sister, whoever, your best friend doesn't believe in you. And so you can just drop it and be like, oh, that's not for me. This one breaks my heart. I've seen this happen so often. You don't need those people to say yes to your dreams. You need to say yes yourself to your dreams, and you need to support yourself and validate yourself and have really amazing thoughts about them. You don't have to hate someone because they don't believe in you, but you also have to just tell yourself I've got this. And maybe if you notice that you're around a lot of people that don't believe in you, you might want to think about getting some new friends. But what I really want to offer for all of this is you've got to have your own back. No one is going to take the actions towards your goals. No one is going to have those intuitive hits like you get when it comes towards your goals. And so you have to really remind yourself that no one cares as much as you about this goal. Even when it comes to doing a goal together. You know, my husband and I have goals together, but I notice that there are certain aspects of our goals that I really dream about, think about, take action towards. And then there are other places that it's the same for him. I can't make him or want him to like these parts of our shared goals more than I do. I have to be the one that has the self-validation to be like, not a problem. I've got this part of it. All right. So option 1, it's really the only option to go with. Remember, you can really hold a goal. And I like to say, like, visualize this. You're holding your goal in one hand and you're holding the hand of that person in the other. You don't have to break up with people. You don't need to push them away. You can really be supportive of loving of the goal and the person all at the same time. All right, we'll see you next time on Drive Your Thoughts podcast. Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to get in the driver's seat of your own life, you can come and follow me at Drive Your Thoughts Coaching on Instagram, or come and see more ways to work with me at driveyourthoughts.com.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted. I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall,